You're staring at your phone. No notifications, no texts, no missed calls. And for the first time in a long time, you chose not to reach out. You didn't check in. You didn't chase. And deep down, you're wondering, what is she thinking right now? Let me show you. Let me take you inside the mind of a woman when you stop chasing her. Modern relationships have become a battlefield, and most men are losing silently, ghosted, drained, forgotten. They give everything, and in return, they're left wondering what went wrong. You were told to be nice, to give her everything, but here you are, overlooked, discarded, and confused. But what if I told you that your greatest strength is in your withdrawal? This video is not just a guide, it's a wake-up call. To every man who's tired of being emotionally used, to every man who's done begging for crumbs of attention, you'll see what she really feels when you disappear, not to play games, but because you've finally chosen yourself. Comment, "I choose myself," if you're done begging for attention and ready to listen till the end. Number 1. The shock of silence. You don't even realize the power of what you've done when you stop reaching out, when you stop being the first to call, when you stop responding within seconds, and when you finally decide to give her the space she never asked for, but deeply feels. It changes everything, not just on the surface of the interaction, but in the very foundation of how she perceives herself, how she perceives you, and how she feels about the dynamic she thought she controlled. Because in today's world, where women are constantly validated, constantly praised, constantly flooded with likes, messages, hearts, and emojis from desperate men who haven't yet woken up to their worth, your decision to disconnect shakes the very identity she's built around the certainty of being desired. Most men don't understand what silence really means, because most men fear it. They think silence means they've lost, that they've been forgotten, that they've been replaced. But in reality, silence from a man who was once consistent, once available, once emotionally open, lands with the force of 1,000 words. It's not just the absence of sound, it's the absence of control. And when she's used to being the sun in someone's life, and you suddenly shift your focus inward, she doesn't feel free, she feels unseen. That triggers her deepest insecurity, the fear that she's no longer special. She'll tell herself it doesn't matter, she'll scroll through her phone, she'll try to laugh louder, look hotter, distract herself with likes and fake validation. But none of it fills the gap you left, because what you gave wasn't generic attention. It was unique presence. You made her feel important, and now you don't. And that contrast is where the shock begins. You don't need to post quotes, play games, or manipulate. You just remove yourself. You step away, not out of anger, not with drama, not with explanations. You just go still. That stillness, it's louder than confrontation. And when you go still, she feels that drop in energy like a flame that just got snuffed out. She won't say it, but she notices. You're not in her comments. You're not texting, "Good morning." You're not giving her what every other man gives on autopilot. And for the first time in a long time, she has to sit with herself. This is the shock of silence. It's not just confusion. It's emotional whiplash. One moment you're pouring in. Now she's met with a void. That void, that space, that absence. It forces her to question things she never had to. What happened? Did I push too far? Is he done with me? Does he not care anymore? And what's dangerous for her is, she doesn't have answers, because you didn't provide them. You didn't beg, you didn't explain, you didn't try to fix it. And that absence of explanation leaves her with only one thing: her own thoughts. And for many women, those thoughts are louder than your presence ever was. You become the echo in her silence, the question mark in her mirror. And while she might pretend she's fine, might post stories to make you jealous, might try to act unbothered, The silence eats at her because it wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to be chased. She was supposed to be worshipped. She was supposed to be missed publicly. But you chose self-respect. You chose focus. You chose not to pour into something that didn't pour back. And that triggers the deepest kind of shock. The realization that maybe she never had the hold she thought she did. And that is where the power starts shifting, not because you played a game, but because you finally decided to stop playing one. You stepped into emotional discipline, into stoic presence, into grounded indifference. And now she has to feel the absence of a man who gave freely and now gives nothing. That silence isn't punishment, it's a mirror. It reflects back everything she projected but never earned. And you, in your silence, finally see her not as the ideal, not as the fantasy, but as a woman who no longer has the power to move you. That's when you truly reclaim yourself, not by saying anything, but by letting your absence say it all. And that's exactly why I created the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, because most men go through this shock with no map, no guidance, no framework to protect their peace or rebuild their power. If you've ever felt that pit in your stomach when you're ghosted, when you're ignored, when you're punished for loving too much, this isn't just a book. It's your foundation. It's the emotional armor you were never taught to wear. Inside, you'll find the mindset shifts, the strategies, and the clarity to stop breaking for women who don't value you, and to start building a life where your worth is never up for negotiation. You don't have to figure this out alone. The link is in the comments. Once you get it, it's yours forever. This knowledge never leaves you. Keep it in your pocket, your phone, your mind, and you'll never chase in confusion again. Number 2, her ego takes a hit. The second she realizes you're no longer orbiting her like a lost planet drawn to her gravitational pull, that's when the real storm begins, not in your world, but in hers. Because her ego, the very thing she polished and protected with every compliment she collected, every heart-eyed emoji from men she never respected, every swipe right from guys she'd never meet, that ego begins to tremble the moment it notices your attention is gone. And this is something they don't talk about, not in songs, not in mainstream media, not in those toxic relationship blogs where they teach women how to get his attention back. But it's very real. Her ego was built on your validation. Not your words, but your presence, your consistency, your need for her. And when that need disappears, when that craving fades, when you no longer jump to reply, no longer cancel plans to see her, no longer revolve your emotional climate around her moods, she doesn't just notice it, she takes it personally. Because for so long, she was the exception in your world. She was the one you chose, the one you made time for, the one you prioritized. But now, you've turned inward. You've stopped chasing. And the woman who was used to you folding now watches you stand. This is where her ego gets bruised. Not because she lost you, but because she can't summon you. She can't control the temperature of your attention anymore. And that is terrifying. Because in her world, attention is power. It's how she knows she matters. It's how she confirms her image. And now, your lack of pursuit forces her to realize she might not have mattered as much as she thought. Think about it. When you're always there, you become part of the background. You become predictable. But the moment you pull back, the moment you stop showing up as the emotional servant to her moods and demands, you disrupt the script she had for you. Now she doesn't know where you are, what you're doing, who you're talking to. And the worst part? She's no longer in control. That hits her ego harder than any insult ever could. And so she starts to react. Maybe subtly. She posts more. She makes herself more visible. She tests you with a message or a story view. Or maybe directly. She accuses you of being distant, cold, unavailable. But the truth is, you're not cold. You're just clear. You finally stop treating her like your emotional oxygen. And when you do that, her entire perception of herself begins to shift. She's no longer the queen in your story. She's just another character who lost relevance. And that ego hit is where the reflection starts. Maybe she didn't appreciate you. Maybe she disrespected you. Maybe she mistook your kindness for weakness. And now she sees it. And if she's honest, she knows you're better without her. But most won't admit it. They'll try to pull you back, not because they love you, but because they need the version of you that made them feel like royalty. And this is your test. Do you fall for the bait, or do you stand on your worth? Because the moment you go back to chasing, to validating, to pleasing, you lose all the ground you gained. But if you hold, if you stay firm, if you continue to build your life with or without her presence, then she realizes something powerful. She was never the prize. Your attention was, your energy was, your loyalty was, and now it's gone. Her ego takes the hit, not because of who you are now, but because of who you no longer are. And that's the beginning of true freedom. Not from her, but from the illusion that your value depends on her approval. Number 3, curiosity kicks in. It always starts small, an itch in the back of her mind, a sudden impulse to check your profile, a moment of silence when she expects your name to pop up on her phone. And that's when the first thread unravels, because your absence isn't just the removal of noise, it's the removal of her control over your presence. And that's when the curiosity begins to morph into obsession. Not because she suddenly realized how deeply she loves you, but because she's no longer certain she can predict your behavior. And for a woman used to certainty, used to emotional power over men who orbit her for months, maybe years, the unpredictability of a man who pulls back, not with bitterness but with quiet detachment, is like a virus to her worldview. The reason curiosity kicks in so hard is because it interrupts the mental script she wrote about you. You were the reliable one, the one who always showed up, the one she could put on pause and return to without consequences, and now you're not. And that disruption forces her to question everything she assumed about you and about herself in relation to you. It doesn't matter if she's surrounded by other men, doesn't matter how many likes she gets or how many guys comment under her photos. Your silence becomes the anomaly she can't ignore, because unlike the others, you were invested, and now you're not, and she doesn't understand why. This is the dangerous part for her, and the powerful one for you. Because when a woman becomes curious, when her routine gets disrupted by the absence of your validation, her ego and her emotions collide, and her subconscious begins seeking patterns. Was it something I said? Did he meet someone? Is he happier without me? Is he punishing me? Did I overplay my hand? These thoughts loop endlessly because they lack resolution, and humans, especially women conditioned by emotional manipulation and social media dopamine, crave resolution. They crave emotional closure, and you denying her that by staying silent triggers the deepest emotional curiosity she's ever felt. She'll say she doesn't care. She'll post that she's unbothered. She might even flirt louder, party harder, show skin she never did before, not because she's free, but because she's trying to force a reaction out of you to satisfy the curiosity she can't shake. Is he watching me? Is he waiting for me to reach out? Can I still control his emotions from afar? But you, in your new posture, have to understand what's really happening. You are no longer the entertainment. You are now the lesson. And the more she tries to solve you, the more power you hold, not through manipulation, but through composure. This is why Stoicism matters, because the more still you are, the more violently her mind races. Curiosity isn't just about wondering what you're doing. It's about her fear of being replaced, her fear of becoming irrelevant, her fear that you might actually be happier without her. And this is where the true test begins, because she will test the waters. She might text something casual, she might like your old photo, she might view your story, not to reconnect but to check, is he still mine? And if you flinch, if you respond too eagerly, if you validate her again without her earning it, the mystery dies and the power shifts back. But if you remain poised, focused, unattached, her curiosity compounds, because now you've become what very few men ever do in her life: unpredictable, disciplined, and emotionally unavailable. And make no mistake, curiosity, left unsatisfied, turns into obsession. And obsession, when she can't get the fix she wants, becomes self-reflection. That's where the real change begins. That's when she starts evaluating herself instead of critiquing you. And if you can hold that line, if you can stay the course and keep your energy inward, your presence becomes addictive because it's no longer predictable. You're no longer the emotional butler waiting to be summoned. You're the enigma she thought she'd never lose, now lost in a world she can't access. And that, my friend, is where true transformation begins, not just for her, but for you. Because now you understand your worth doesn't lie in her curiosity. It lies in your ability to walk away without explaining a thing. Number 4, she replays everything. Now begins the mental loop, the endless obsessive re-examination of every word, every message, every little interaction she once dismissed as casual, now suddenly feels heavy, meaningful, and loaded with hidden intentions, because your absence has flipped the mirror back onto her, and she begins to wonder not just where you went, but what she did to make you leave. And this part, this relentless replay of moments, is not born from romantic longing, but from ego collapse and emotional imbalance, because she's no longer in control of how you see her, and that scares her more than losing you ever could. You were once so predictable, so responsive, so easily accessed, and now you are emotionally unavailable in a way she can't decode, and that's the kind of silence that doesn't create peace. It creates chaos in her mind. She thinks about the last conversation, rewinds to the last time she ignored your call, remembers the dry reply she sent when you tried to show love, and suddenly she realizes, maybe I went too far. Maybe he got tired. Maybe he finally woke up. That realization doesn't always show in her actions, but it hits internally, like a freight train. And the irony is, this emotional processing happens not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. She starts asking herself questions she never had to consider when you were predictable. Did he ever care? Was he pretending to love me? Is he done for good? And more importantly, has he found someone better? These aren't just casual thoughts. These are existential, ego-level shocks. Because when a woman is used to being chased, used to being the center of your emotional attention, used to being the reason you broke your boundaries, her entire framework starts collapsing when you remove your energy. And now she's sitting with that reflection, not because she wants to fix things, but because she wants to know how she lost control. And she starts analyzing you, your habits, your patterns, your tone. That one time you didn't reply right away. That one day you seemed more focused on something other than her. She replays everything, not to remember you, but to regain emotional clarity. And the more she analyzes, the more she realizes she doesn't have the answer. And that frustration becomes emotional fuel. This is when she starts showing signs, messages disguised as casual check-ins, accidental likes on your old posts, updates that scream, "Look at me now." But these aren't moves of confidence. They're signs of desperation disguised as pride. And this is where your strength is tested. If you respond, if you fold, if you return to the role of emotional provider, she wins and the replay stops, because she got the answer she wanted. But if you stay detached, if you keep building your life, if you continue developing yourself, her loop goes deeper. Because now, she's not just replaying moments, she's replaying what she lost. Not just you, but the version of you she never respected. The man who would do anything for her attention, now gone, replaced by a version of you she can't manipulate. And the emotional roller coaster this creates in her is violent, confusing, unrelenting. You become the standard she now secretly compares others to, not because you were perfect, but because you finally stopped being accessible. She replays the way you made her feel, safe, valued, seen. And then she replays the way she pushed it away, ignored it, took it for granted. And now, every quiet moment becomes a mental movie where you are the lead, and she is the girl who ruined it. Whether she admits it or not doesn't matter. What matters is she feels it. And that feeling, that regret-laced introspection, that's what begins to transform her, if at all. But you don't need to watch it happen. Your role isn't to fix or wait or hope. Your role is to remain unavailable to disrespect, unavailable to inconsistency, unavailable to any version of her that once couldn't see your worth. Let her replay, let her analyze, let her unravel. You're not her resolution, you're the lesson. And that's the most powerful thing you could ever be. Number 5. Jealousy creeps in. You might think she's moved on, that she's already replaced you with someone taller, richer, smoother, that she's done, that she's free. But what you're not seeing is the emotional chaos that brews beneath her controlled exterior, because once you remove yourself and maintain that distance long enough, the curiosity turns to fear, and fear manifests into jealousy. Not because you're rubbing anything in her face, but because you're no longer there to be rubbed in hers, and that void drives her mind into dangerous territory where she starts imagining who you're with, what she's missing out on, and how she's no longer the center of your attention. And here's the part most men miss. Jealousy is not about what you do in front of her. It's about what she assumes you're doing without her. And that assumption becomes a breeding ground for panic. Now she watches your stories. She checks who's liking your posts. She stalks your following list and zooms in on random girls in your background. She's not doing it because she cares in the way you wanted her to. She's doing it because her emotional power over you is no longer secure, and she needs to see if she's been replaced. Her ego cannot tolerate the idea that she's no longer your priority, and so she starts creating stories in her head, often exaggerated and irrational, to fill in the gaps your silence created. She imagines you holding hands with someone else, laughing like you used to with her, maybe even treating another woman the way she never appreciated being treated. That image doesn't just sting, it haunts her, because she realizes the thing she dismissed might actually have been real, and now someone else might be enjoying the version of you she thought would always be there for her. And what does she do with that jealousy? She acts out. Maybe she posts thirst traps, pictures that show skin but scream insecurity. Maybe she starts showing off a guy you know isn't really her type, a guy who's clearly just a placeholder, a pawn in her emotional chess game. Maybe she says nothing but watches everything, and you, if you've truly detached, you won't even notice, because your focus isn't on playing games or getting even. Your focus is on becoming so grounded, so fulfilled, so internally complete, that no reaction from her can destabilize your peace. That's when jealousy burns her from the inside, because now you're not just silent, you're unaffected, and nothing triggers deeper insecurity than a man who genuinely doesn't care what she does anymore. That's when she starts spiraling, trying to get your attention without lowering herself too obviously, trying to test if she still matters by leaving breadcrumbs she hopes you'll follow. And here's where your strength matters. Don't follow, don't respond. Don't let her pull you back into the loop of reactive masculinity, where her validation determines your value. Let her burn with her own jealousy. Let her feel what it's like to watch you walk forward without flinching, without second-guessing, without needing her approval. Because the moment you do, you show her, and yourself, that your peace is worth more than her chaos. Jealousy is not love. It's possession dressed up in emotion. And when you finally see it for what it is, you'll stop responding to bait and start building something real, with or without her. Number 6. Regret surfaces. There comes a moment, usually late at night when the distractions fade and the noise dies down, when she finally sits with herself and feels the weight of what she's lost. And that's when regret begins to take shape, not as an immediate apology or grand realization, but as a quiet discomfort that grows stronger every time she sees your name and remembers the version of you she mistreated, ignored, undervalued. She replays how you used to show up, how you listened when she vented, how you made time even when you were tired, how you never made her feel like an option. And now that energy is gone, she realizes she never truly appreciated it. The regret doesn't come because she misses you as a person. It comes because she misses the way your presence validated her, made her feel chosen, special, important. And when that's gone, she has no choice but to look inward and ask herself, why did I push him away? Why did I take him for granted? Why did I treat his consistency like it was disposable? That kind of regret isn't loud. It's quiet. It's subtle. It shows up in delayed responses, in unsent messages, in long stares at photos she almost deletes but can't. It shows up when someone else tries to love her the way you did, and she finds herself comparing, not because you were perfect, but because you were real. That's the part that stings. You were real. And she threw it away thinking she could replace it. Now she realizes how rare it actually was. But don't get it twisted. Regret doesn't always mean she'll come back. Sometimes it just sits in her heart like a stone she can't move. And even if she does come back, it's not always because she wants to build something better. Sometimes it's just to soothe the guilt, to see if she still has the power, to undo the damage to her own ego. And this is where your discernment matters. You have to be able to tell the difference between genuine regret and manipulative nostalgia. Real regret is followed by change. Fake regret is followed by familiar patterns. And your job isn't to give her another chance to prove she can hurt you. Your job is to protect the version of you she couldn't value. Regret is a powerful teacher for both of you. For her, it reveals her emotional immaturity. For you, it confirms your growth. And as much as she may try to mask it with pride, with silence, with pretend happiness, deep down, she knows she fumbled something that won't come around again. That's when regret becomes a prison. Because now, she watches you evolve without her, grow without her, glow without her, and she can't undo what's been done. And you stay grounded, stay focused, stay committed to never becoming the man who begs to be seen again. Let her regret you. That's not your burden. It's her consequence. Number 7. Respect is reborn. Respect doesn't come from being nice. It doesn't come from constant availability, or from tolerating disrespect, or from bending over backward to prove your worth to someone who sees you as an option. Respect is born when a man finally decides he's had enough of playing by rules that keep him small, emotionally drained, and dependent on someone else's validation. And it's in that moment, when you detach, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, that you begin to change the way she sees you, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. You become the man she didn't know how to respect before. Not because you got louder or colder, but because you became emotionally untouchable, and women respect what they can't control. They might love what's soft, but they respect what's solid. And when you stop trying to explain yourself, stop trying to be the better guy, stop trying to show her your worth through overgiving, That's when the shift happens. She begins to notice the weight of your silence, not as a punishment, but as a standard. She sees that you don't tolerate inconsistency anymore. She sees that you're not reactive to her energy shifts, not emotionally triggered by her games. And that stillness, that discipline, that focus, it makes her realize you're no longer the man who seeks peace from her. You've found it within. And that changes everything. Now she reconsiders your worth. Now she wonders what made you switch. Now she sees what she missed. Not a man who chased her, but a man who finally chose himself. And this is important. Real respect isn't begged for. It's earned through boundaries, through emotional self-control, through silence that speaks louder than words. And once she starts respecting you, everything changes. Her tone softens, her energy shifts, her approach adjusts. But this is not the time to get excited. This is the time to observe. Because sometimes respect isn't admiration, it's caution. She might respect you because she fears losing access to you, not because she truly understands your value. And it's on you to discern whether her newfound respect is rooted in growth or fear. Either way, you've won, because you've changed the way she views you. You're no longer the guy who's too nice. You're now the man she can't figure out. And that mystery commands respect. But remember, the ultimate goal isn't her respect. It's your self-respect. Once you lock that in, the world, including her, has no choice but to follow your lead or fall behind. That's the power of becoming untouchable. That's the rebirth of respect. Number 8, she starts chasing you. And now the cycle completes, the roles reverse, and the one who once sat high on your emotional pedestal begins to shift, begins to move toward you, not with arrogance, but with uncertainty, with cautious curiosity, because your transformation has created a vacuum, a new reality where she is no longer the one being pursued. And that shift, that uncomfortable realization that she now has to work for what once came easily, begins to change the entire energy between you. She starts chasing, not always obviously, not always directly, but with signs. More engagement, longer replies, subtle check-ins, memories suddenly resurfacing in conversations she starts, plans she wants to make that she never had time for before. But you must understand, her chase is not always about reconnection. Sometimes it's about restoring the balance of control. She wants to know if she can still pull you back, if she can still make you flinch, still make you feel. And if you're not careful, you'll confuse her curiosity for commitment. You'll see her chase as proof that she's changed, that she finally gets it. But chasing is easy, changing is hard. And your job isn't to celebrate her attention, it's to question her intention. What does she want now? Does she see your worth, or just miss your weakness? Is she here because she sees your value, or because she misses the version of you she used to control? These are hard questions, but necessary. Because once a woman starts chasing, you have leverage, and it's in this moment that many men fold, too eager to be loved, too desperate to feel chosen again. Don't let her chase. Let her feel the weight of effort. Let her experience what it means to pursue something she once thought was guaranteed. You owe her nothing, not your time, not your body, not your heart, unless she's earned it, unless she's proven that her chase is not a game, but a reflection of growth. And even then, tread carefully. Because some women don't want you. They want the power they lost when you walked away. Don't give it back just because it feels good to be wanted. Remember the pain that made you leave. Remember the clarity that came with detachment. And let her chase be a reminder that you were never unworthy, just undervalued. Now the game is different. Now the power is yours. And whether you take her back or keep walking, do it from a place of strength, not need. because the moment you truly believe that you are enough without her is the moment she has to prove she's enough to be in your life again. If you've ever begged for love, tolerated disrespect, or lost yourself trying to keep her, you already know how painful it is to give everything and be left with nothing. But that ends today. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint is not just an ebook. It's the lifeline for every man who's tired of being emotionally manipulated, ignored, and undervalued. And it's everything no one ever told you about how to reclaim your power, rebuild your peace, and lead from strength. The link is in the comments, and once you get it, it's yours for life. No more confusion, no more chasing, no more regret. If you're ready to stop being the man who's always trying, and finally become the man she has to earn, comment, "I choose strength," like this video, and subscribe to help wake up more men before they waste another decade chasing what was never real.